Do you want to talk a little bit about what this paper shows, because it will absolutely blow your mind.
They will be impacted a lot. So people here really realize that learning AI right now and using it in their day-to-day job is very important. So I actually constantly have this feeling like there's still so much to learn.
I think the key point is you've mentioned something that like is accessible to someone who even doesn't know about coding. Yeah, so Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. The robots are coming.
Yeah,
We're
thanks
doing
for having me.
yeah, no problem. We're doing something a little bit different today. We got Yen in the room, our amazing assistant, and we're also going to do a live stream to B work at 5 o'clock, and Yen is putting this out to her audience as well. So yeah, amazing interactive session today, which is really cool to have a bit
Very
of an audience.
exciting.
Yeah. So, Stephen, the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast was because you have such an amazing like business background and knowledge, and now you've pivoted into the AI space, and I think you are probably like the most knowledgeable person that I know on AI. You have so much knowledge that you've learned in 8 months. Tell us a little bit about your journey from going from, owning a series of restaurants to then doing something which seems completely different, but I guess there's a lot of principles that kind of connect them.
Yeah, it's actually funny when you say it because I don't have a technical background at all. My background is actually in marketing. So I used to work for a big marketing company, and then I traveled the world and I started a restaurant business just because of my passion for traveling, sharing culture, really from this marketing perspective. Then after about 4 years, I decided to take a small break and come to Bali. And actually, it's kind of a funny story because I wanted to learn something new, and I started with blockchain actually. And so I was here, I was learning a bit about blockchain, trying to figure that out, and I went to this event, and it was blockchain for AI, and like the combination of both. But I didn't know anything about AI. Really, like I didn't want to be like the the stupid guy, not knowing anything. So I just decided to study AI before going to that meetup, and it was before like the ChatGPT hype. So nobody showed up on the meeting.
Oh wow!
Nobody showed up, and so the meeting was cancelled. But because I already learned AI just during the day for the preparation, I got so fascinated by AI, and I decided, okay, now actually I want to learn more about this. And then, like 1 month later, it was all of a sudden the ChatGPT explosion happening. So I was like a bit before GPT-3, trying to figure that out. Of course, DALI with the image generation. And then, yeah, when everything exploded, I just decided, okay, I'm going to continue doing this, and I'm going to continue learning because it's going to be so impactful on everything I do that I felt like, yeah, there was no choice basically, and just, yeah, keep learning. And so I've been now studying for 8 months almost. Of course, I've been also doing my business, but yeah, it's been very interesting.
There's something kind of insane about that. The fact that there's an AI meeting and nobody shows up because nobody really knew what AI was, or find it kind of a boring topic. That if you did that today, like, I mean, yesterday at the kind of AI meetup that you chair, that we both go to, it's a packed room. You couldn't get enough people in the room. People are so excited by it. It's kind of wild to think how much it has changed since ChatGPT came out.
It's crazy. Yeah? Like also, there's a lot of events here in Bali. I speak on a lot of events, and there's so much enthusiasm about AI right now. And literally, like 8 or 9 months ago, I didn't even know about AI. I mean, I knew the basics. I knew like the AlphaGo and the chess and some image generation, but that's it, And yeah, it's been such an interesting journey, and sometimes I also have to pinch myself, like, actually, like, is this really happening? Is this really like, are we living in this time that the robots are actually coming?
They are, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sometimes it's sometimes it's just funny to think about it, But it's moving quite fast. But at the same time, I feel like the technology is even moving faster than the society. Like here in Bali, people are adapting fast, but overall, I think society is not is moving a bit almost in slow motion compared to the exponential growth of the technology. So,
Yeah, I think if the viewers were here in Bali with us and they
Yeah.
could see what we could see.
Yeah.
So we have these meetings that go on that you chair for people who are building AI tools and people who are just interested in AI. And Yen comes to them as well. That's how we met Yen. And the amount of knowledge that is in the room and the amount of things that just kind of change and just seem to happen from week to week, it's almost like you're catching up in any other industry in like a year's worth of changes in 1 week. So you see it before your eyes. You see how crazy this is.
Yeah.
And it really brings it home to you. But then I feel like if you were sort of just in kind of in normal society, as if Bali is kind of not normal, but like you wouldn't see that. You would just see everything not changing, and we kind of see it. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think sometimes I feel like we're living in a bubble. I think it's because there's so many different like international people coming together, digital nomads, people who are already used to working online, have a very digital job, and also people that just will be impacted a lot by AI, right? Like a lot of people that are doing, for example, digital marketing, e-commerce, or having some kind of consultancy business, they will be impacted a lot. So people here really realize that learning AI right now and using it in their day-to-day job is very important. And like on the AI meetings, it's also so interesting to see all these different backgrounds coming together and just brainstorming how AI can be used in all these different types of jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, it is insane that it impacts literally every single industry that
Yeah.
you could think about. I'm really interested to ask you, how has it changed the restaurant industry, or how do you see it changing the restaurant industry, and how have you implemented it in your restaurant business?
I think the restaurant industry is not very digital yet, meaning like restaurant owners, they're not very used to working on a laptop, let's say. But at the same time, there's a huge opportunity. I believe in general that having a niche strategy for implementing AI is a good way forward. So if you have like a certain specialized domain like the restaurant industry, there's a lot of opportunity there. I see big companies moving forward. So I checked like the restaurant industry AI patents, and I see all these big companies like Starbucks actually having already a lot of patents. So these big companies are actually doing it, but it's such a fragmented market, right? Like there's so many individual small restaurants, and they're not yet implementing it. Yeah.
I gotta ask you,
Yeah.
you know, what are Starbucks doing? What have they patented? What AI software have they patented?
It's mainly about like customer loyalty, trying to understand the customer. It's about ordering, food ordering. It's even like the voice, voice ordering and things like this. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they're
yeah.
already thinking about this, and this is what's
Yeah, yeah,
coming
yeah,
down the
definitely,
line.
definitely.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I think was it Burger King that already. I'm not sure Burger King, but one of these fast food chains, they already work together with Google to implement a voice ordering assistant. So yeah, I think they really are aware of this trend, and in the restaurant industry the cost of labor is usually very high. So finding ways to make the workforce more productive is very beneficial, and at the same time, like serving the customers, getting to know your customers is very important for the restaurant experience. So I think there's a lot of benefits there. In terms of what I'm implementing, my main role for my company is advising restaurant owners. So I'm building tools to, for example, do food ordering, do invoice management, do marketing, storytelling, also online food ordering. So all kind of tools that I'm implementing for restaurant owners that they can use to help their business. And the end goal is just freeing up their time to actually spend with their customers, right? Like a restaurant owner, they are passionate about the restaurant industry to spend time with their customers, to serve their customers, to make their customers happy, and not to sit behind a laptop trying to figure out which meals to order, right? So that's my goal, to just freeing up their time. Yeah.
Wow. And what do you think, or what would you say to people who they feel like, okay, all these big companies, they're taking up all these patents to do with AI, and they're just sort of dominating the space, and they think, oh well, there's no need for me to kind of bother. Like, what hope is there for me as a small business, or if I want to start something with AI? Like, I feel like actually there is quite a lot of opportunity, because if you're just starting out, you can be agile. Whereas if you're a big company, it's pretty hard to suddenly, fire 80% of your workforce.
Yeah, it's like you said. I think that the biggest advantage that small companies or freelancers have is being flexible and changing fast. And I think that's where they really need to make use of this advantage. Just trying new things, implementing AI, being more productive. Um, I don't think large companies have the big advantage. I think, of course, the big tech companies, like I don't think startups should try to train large language models or
Yeah.
something. I don't think that's a good strategy. But in terms of applying the technology, I think being small is actually a huge advantage in such a fast-moving industry, right? Like every day there are new things coming out. Every 2-3 months there is an actual breakthrough happening that changes a lot, right? And just be able to be super flexible and not having to like align an entire company and with some people that don't want to change as fast as other people, or just coming to this shared understanding. What are we going to do? I think startups really have an advantage here. So it's about keeping up with the trend and being flexible. Yeah.
Yen has a question for us.
Yeah.
What do you want to ask it? Yeah.
I know you spoke about the restaurant part. What are specific, can you elaborate on like the things that restaurant can sort of take action with AI? Like, when you said the ordering, is it like ordering through an AI and they know exactly? Like, I just want you to
Yeah.
clarity on that.
So Yen, I'm not sure if the microphone will pick you up. So just to
Yeah.
repeat what she said, So Yen was asking like, what actual steps can you take to implement AI in a restaurant business?
Just
Like,
to
if you
understand,
yeah, like what action can you actually take like right now if you want to implement it?
Yeah. So there's different types of AI.
Yeah.
There's a type of AI that is basically just analyzing data, and this is, I think, one of the first things that restaurant owners should do, because it's a very difficult business. Meaning, if you make some mistakes in terms of like your food waste or like your customers, you don't have enough, or there's a mismatch between your capacity and your customers. There's a lot of analyzing data that can be useful that is not being done right now in the restaurant industry. So I would definitely start there. Just using tools, existing tools. For example, you can use Google platform. They have an entire toolkit that restaurant owners can use. Just upload their ingredients, their stocks levels, and have an automated ordering system. So I think like just using much more data in the restaurant industry is just critical. And then secondly, it's of course the large language models, ChatGPT hype. It's about generating data. That's, for example, content management, telling more stories about your food, really giving that entire experience. So it's not just about the convenience and about fast service. I think a restaurant should really be like an experience for the customers.
So I feel like there's two threads there. There's one, like how we use big data, and then there's two, like how you can basically use it as a content machine.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with the first one, because I think that would be the one that is most interesting to people that perhaps they haven't heard of, the one that might intimidate them the most, which is how you use big data. Now, I feel like you can gather all the big data from your Excel spreadsheets, and already if you have ChatGPT, the premium version, the one that you're paying for, you can actually add that into AI with Code Interpreter. In fact, you could add multiple documents into it.
Yep.
Is that what you mean when you talk about like big data analysis?
Yeah. So big data. It was already possible, right? But what happens now is we can communicate with computers in natural language. So we can actually have a restaurant owner, for example, upload a file with data and then just ask a question in normal language, like what do I need to order? And then the question gets converted into a query that is then actually used to retrieve the data from the file. Like you mentioned, like Code Interpreter on GPT-4 is definitely one of those useful tools. Of course, you can also have the ready-made tools, a lot of tools out there, but you can also, I would use Code Interpreter. It basically generates code to analyze the file that you upload. Yeah.
And I mean, that is absolutely huge, right? For $20 a month, you can have, all this analysis done on, you can really pinpoint exactly what your customers are ordering. Like you said, how much do they kind of need to know on this? And not just if you own a restaurant, if you own any business, right? If you have all this huge data, suddenly you can see the wood through the trees, as it were, and you can, you don't have to pay someone to do statistical analysis anymore because you can do it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, it's being called GPT 4.5. Actually, it's such a big introduction. I was actually waiting for several months because they had a waiting list, but now they open it up for everybody. And I think that's the future. It's this dynamic programming, you could call it. It's basically generating a script based on the exact problem that you have, instead of having like a hard-coded script that is, otherwise you need to have like an entire code base of hard-coded scripts. And now you can have it generate only the script that you need for a specific problem. And that's such a big change. Yeah.
I think, Code Interpreter. I mean, if you kind of don't know about this already, I feel like you absolutely need to go away and sort of get it. I mean, one of the girls who attends the AI founder session, she said it's crazy when people complain about paying the $20 a month, because it is literally the most profound, powerful tool that is the most profound, powerful tool that's like existed for such a long time.
It's I agree. Like if you I think people might compare it to other software, and then it might be expensive, but I mean, you just need to compare it to hiring a freelancer or a data analyst, and then it's nothing, right? So it's I also think that maybe OpenAI is not the best in naming their products, because Code Interpreter doesn't sound like a tool for non-coders, right? But it's actually for non-coders, right? Like you could also, if you write code, you don't really need it. But if you don't write code, it's the perfect tool to analyze your files.
It is funny that you say that, because when it came out, there were multiple versions of GPT-4. There was one that had web browsing, one that had plugins, and one that was Code Interpreter. And I thought, Code Interpreter, okay, I don't need this one. I don't know, think about code. This is too complicated. In fact, actually, this is probably the most useful one, because this is now the one that you can feed it files, and then you can ask it questions about those files, and you can go away and ask it in normal language to make, a basic website, a basic kind of JPEG PDF file for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also think it's one of the most useful and underrated tools right now.
Yeah, and the second point to answer Jens' question, which is that you can use AI for your kind of brand strategy and your whole content strategy. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you're kind of doing that with restaurants?
So content creation is not very accessible if you want to do it good, because you really need some copywriting skills. You need to understand how it works. It's a bit of psychology as well, right? And like GPT-4 is actually one of the best content creators you can imagine if you prompt it the right way. And that, for me, that's been such like, I used to write my own content, and I always got stuck. You know, I'm not. I mean, maybe it's a bit because I overthink it too much, but it would be such a long process for me to come up with the perfect content. But now, having just some really good prompts with like user info and everything, it can generate a few examples, and then you can say I like this, and then it will generate a new example based on what you like, and it's just so much faster, you know. So maybe a bit more concrete. I think that as a restaurant owner, it's important to understand how do you position yourself in the market, because the restaurant industry is of course very competitive, so you need to differentiate yourself, and in order to differentiate yourself, you need to understand what makes my restaurant different, and you need to be able to communicate those differences, and that's where content creation and storytelling as a whole comes in. So it's really emphasizing those specific values that you have, and then communicating them in all the different touch points with your customers, and having this one consistent story. Basically, from online to offline, having one consistent story.
And AI can really help you do that, right? Because I think it's kind of a subject that we touch on a lot together, is how if you just ask ChatGPT, write me, you know, a brand content strategy for a restaurant, you're probably not going to get very good results.
Yes.
But the thing that will get you good results is the more context you give it. And so the reason something like Code Interpreter is so important and so vital is you can feed it documents. So if you already have a brand strategy already that you've worked out, you can just give that to ChatGPT and say, now, on the basis of this, write me a blog post, write me a menu that meets my tone of voice, that meets my customers.
Exactly. I think that one more point on this is actually that, so many people, what I read many people saying is ChatGPT will replace a marketer, for example. I don't think that's necessarily true, because you still need to understand the fundamentals of marketing. You still need to understand the basic structure of how do you come up with like your brand mission, vision, values. How do you make a customer persona, and then how do you link it all together and come up with a content strategy with content pillars and different touch points, and how do you measure the impact? So there is more to it than just giving it a template, right? And I think that it would be useful for people that are not familiar with marketing to just learn the fundamentals. You don't need to be, do not need to learn like expert marketing, but now if you just understand the fundamentals, you can really augment your work with ChatGPT.
Yeah, wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just fixing my camera.
Are you okay? I saw you from the corner of my eye. I was like, but yeah, I think what you said is just so vital and so important. Like this whole narrative that AI is going to replace jobs. Like I don't think it will. I just think it will put the smartest, the brightest people on steroids. And if you can use it to your advantage and you already have a basic knowledge of marketing, then you're set. You can use that to really like run away a race and go so far with it in a way that you couldn't do without it.
Yeah, I think Right now, yes.
Yeah.
I think right
Right
now.
now, emphasis on that word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to predict the future, but right now I don't think it will replace jobs. Right now it's all about uh, new opportunities. Basically, what you can do is learn the fundamentals of a new type of job, and then also do that. For example, I learned the fundamentals of coding, and now I can write my own code. So you can like have new skills horizontally, so really learn new skills, or you can become much more expert in what you're already doing. For example, in marketing, I wouldn't be a copywriter. I would ask someone else, and now I can actually do my own copywriting and go further into the expertise. So there are different ways you can use it right now and have different opportunities. Um, long term, I'm unsure. Right? Like I think that there are some jobs that will be impacted. I think it's a question of supply and demand, right? If the supply increases because of productivity and the demand doesn't increase, then yeah, there will be sometimes too many jobs. But in most industries, I think that the demand will also increase.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is something I really want to ask you about. I've been dying to ask you about, and that is, you have like so much knowledge and understanding about AI. You're one of the smartest people that I think I've come across. All the information, the amount that you read, and the sheer amount of kind of information that you kind of have to absorb in this space to sort of catch up with it. It's really sort of mind kind of boggling. So I kind of have two questions for you. One is how do you sort of cope with that, and what's your strategy for trying to sort of learn AI, and you know, your advice to people who are trying to learn it. But I also know you have built for Google Drive your very own chatbot so that you can ask it and compare like the whole archive of all your files, which I just think is just so incredible and amazing, and I really want to get access to it as soon as possible. I know loads of people are saying, "Oh, I want to buy it. I want to buy it." So yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about both those things? Yeah.
Yeah. I sort of like disagree because I feel like the more I learn, the more I discover things that I still want to learn or need to learn. So I actually constantly have this feeling like there's still so much to learn, right? So I I don't really feel like I'm already super knowledgeable. I think there's still so much to learn. So it's yeah. Um, but to your second question, yes, I try to build my own tools to help me in this learning process. Otherwise, it gets quite overwhelming, right? There's so much content. Like I heard yesterday that now it's already 5,000 academic papers getting published each week.
That 5,000. I thought it was 500. Well, you
I-
told me
it-
500 the other week.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
5,000.
I thought it was 500, but it depends. Like I think on the specific topic of large language models, which is what I tend to do. It's more around this range of 500. But then in another podcast I listened, they actually said that AI as a whole is already 5,000, right? So it gets very overwhelming because then there's also all these news articles, all these podcasts. My YouTube playlist is like 700 videos right now, so
Wow.
it's really a lot. I really enjoy it, by the way. So it's not that I do it because I have to. It's something I really enjoy. It's almost like being in this futuristic movie about all our lives changing, and we can just sit on the front row and actually experience it and just reading the live updates, you know. So I think that's very interesting. In terms of tools, yeah, I've built several tools. One of which is like custom search engines that basically look on certain websites for news updates, and then they pull it in, and then they cluster it and summarize it, just to understand a bit what's going on the different topics.
So you're using AI to sort of like collate all the news that there is. So how do you want to talk a little bit about like how that works, kind of how you built it? Have you just used like a Google search for AI, or is there a particular repository that you pull in from?
So there's on the Google platform, you can build a custom search engine, which basically you upload a list of websites, and then your custom search engine only searches those websites. And the reason I did it is because there's so much content, so much advice, but what I've noticed is there's also a lot of bad advice, right? A lot of let's say people that want to jump on the hype, and then they give advice, but it's not
So if
necessarily.
you don't get on AI now, you're going to lose your job. Yeah.
And so I one of the first things I did is just make a list of like quality sources, quality websites, and then I built basically these search engines that only search these websites, and it's just a program that searches, and then it pulls in the content, it dumps the content into a database, and then it's quite technical, but then it does semantic clustering into topics, and then it gets summarized. Yeah.
But I think the key point is you've mentioned something that like is accessible to someone who even doesn't know about coding, which is this really sort of unique way you use Google that most people don't know about. Is that it isn't just a search engine where you can type stuff in. You can specify, actually, I only want you to pull up information from these list of sites, and I only want you to pull it up from like the last week, or this, and I feel like most people don't use it like that. Most people aren't even aware that you can use it like that.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's and it's actually you can easily do this for non-coders. I link it to my script, but you can also you don't have to write code to do this. And then there's also, Archive is the website where all the academic papers gets published. They also have an API, which I use to get the summaries.
That's that word again, API. So guys, API is just basically a way of connecting up two different programs to each other. So most things like OpenAI, you can literally get like a kind of a key for it, and then if you want to basically plug that into like whatever program you've got, you can sort of do it that way. It's like you don't need that much knowledge of coding to be able to do that, actually. But
there's a 3-hour video on YouTube to understand how to use APIs.
Oh wow, it's not that complicated. You only need a 3-hour video.
But it's very useful. It's what most programmers use. And by the way, I didn't know all this 8 months ago. So now it seems quite obvious, but I remember 8 months ago I had to search what it meant. But it's just so I get the summaries from Archive. I also get transcripts from YouTube, and that's how I try to keep up with everything that's going on. And then podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think that's such a valuable source of information as well.
Yeah, and I feel like the way you're handling data is really good for your mental health, because you're specifying like what sources you want to take it from. You're collating it all in your own way, and then you're just kind of going into it and working your way through it when you want to. I feel like that's a much healthier way than just going on YouTube and being bombarded with 10 videos about why you're missing out on AI or this latest tool. So what would you say to the kind of the audience who are watching, who are feeling a bit overwhelmed at the moment and kind of bombarded? What are the kind of simple steps that you could take to try and get the information that you kind of need right now to help you?
I think that for me it was important to get the overview first. Otherwise it gets so overwhelming and so complicated. So just understanding the the holistic overview. I literally asked ChatGPT, give me the holistic overview. So understanding AI, difference between AI, machine learning, deep learning, difference between natural language processing, and then computer vision, and all these kind of categories of AI. I think that's definitely the first place to start, and just knowing, okay, these categories of AI are actually not relevant to my business, so I don't need to worry about all that kind of stuff. That's something to do. Also, one mistake I made was going too technical. At first, like I wanted to learn deep learning, and when you like type learn deep learning in Google, what you get is this complicated mathematical course, and I did it, but I realized, first of all, it was not very interesting for me, and second of all, I realized I was never going to use it, right? So it's good to understand it, but I would not recommend it at
Yeah,
all.
sorry to all the people
Yeah.
with a deep learning degree out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really focus on what is the goal of your business. How are you creating value in your business, and then focus on learning how AI can help you augment your value creating process. Yeah, really start there, and also use ChatGPT to help you. Like literally at first, it's like all these technical articles. It's like they speak a different language if you don't understand the technology. So I literally use ChatGPT to translate it to like a human language, let's say. Also using metaphor. So the way I learn best is to get this overview, to get some kind of structure in my mind, and then to understand it through metaphors, and get this intuitive understanding. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's really great, and it's such a good point, because I think that you don't need to know everything, and I think when we start, or certainly when I started this AI journey, like AI was this big thing, and now I feel like it's splintered. So you have, the text to image guys, or the Mid Journey, and
Yeah.
then you have the Chat GPT and the content writing, and now you have text to music as well.
Yeah.
And we've sort of covered a lot of those on the podcast, so you can use the podcast as a kind of resource, really, and just
Yeah.
pick the ones that you want to pick that are going to be useful for your business.
Yeah.
And I think picking one and kind of focusing to it, and then sort of doubling down on that. It's the whole idea of like niching down. I think you kind of have to do that with AI
Exactly.
to start with.
Yeah, really just making the priorities for yourself. Like, this is what I want to learn, and this I will maybe learn it later, but not now.
Yeah, that's perfect. Do you want to ask something?
We've
Or
got
we
about
good?
15 minutes before 5.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to ask about
Yeah.
3 tips for e-commerce that they can leverage off AI.
So I think e-commerce it's really about understanding your user, right? Like, it's understanding your user and trying to predict which products they might want, and it's trying to understand their intent. So which are two things, right? It's about what do they want to buy, and where are they in their buying process, in their funnel. I think both of these things you can use AI for. Making a user profile, linking it to other users based on the behavior, based on the data that you gather from your users. That's, for example, Amazon. What they usually do, when they recommend a product, it's not just a product recommendation. What they actually do is they recommend a product for that a user similar to you would like, right? So they understand what kind of user are you, what are other similar users to you, and what would similar users buy. So it's important to understand your user, and then match it to different kind of users, and create this map, which is, by the way, called a knowledge graph. That's some, I think, quite important technology that could be used for e-commerce.
Is it a platform?
It's it's a way of managing your data, but you can do it easily on these big online platforms.
It's yeah, we were talking about this. So it's called a knowledge graph. So a knowledge graph is kind of like almost like a spider diagram. So
Yeah.
it shows you the relationships between all the different pieces of information
Yeah.
that just exist. So you see the knowledge visually rather than seeing it in in just boring text or in like graphical mode.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you put in, say, e-commerce, and then in your Google Drive you have business, and then how many times is this word kind of relevant, and how relevant something is to something else depends on the amount of connections, and how many times you've used it is how big it's kind of represented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's what Facebook uses.
Yeah.
That's how they map their users. It's
Yeah.
also what Google uses, what
Yeah.
Wikipedia uses. It's one of the biggest trends right now in large language model research is basically how to connect large language models to knowledge graphs to make it more personalized. So I think this is something interesting to learn more about. So it's about understanding your user and then making predictions on what they would buy. I think that's one important element of e-commerce. Secondly, it's where are they in their buying journey, which is basically saying discover their intent, discover what they want and how much do they want it. Do they need more information? Do they need more trust? Do they want rational arguments? Do they want emotional arguments? So that's about basically decoding the user intent, which is linked to emotional intelligence. And that's actually something that GPT-4 is very good at. GPT-4 is scoring right now in the 89th percentile of emotional intelligence. So it can actually be very useful for just predicting what do the users actually want.
Yeah,
Um,
and I feel like one of the big themes that's kind of run through our conversation is like big data, and to be successful in e-commerce, and particularly if you go back and you look at the episode we did with Sam Barnes, who's an expert on basically selling books on Amazon. He has a background in big data. He was a data sort of analyst for a company before he moved into doing that, and to be successful in e-commerce in 2023, I feel like the skills and the things you need are understanding of your customers, so psychology, and then as much information as you can possibly get on them. And AI is the thing that kind of puts that on steroids, because you don't need to go and hire a data analyst anymore and spend 50-60K on hiring one.
Indeed.
You can literally do it yourself with AI if you kind of know what you're doing.
What would you
Yeah.
prompt it though? Like, for example.
Yeah.
So that's actually the third point, because prompting is about generating content, right? So the first two is about analyzing data, which is that's machine learning. It's not necessarily ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT, but there are better tools for this. The generative part is also very useful because what it allows you to do is in e-commerce running different kind of experiments for your users, and then tracking the conversion rate of different types of content pieces, right? So I think that's the third advice I would give is just using a lot of content generation and experiments, and then analyzing the data and optimizing it that way. Does it make sense?
So like uploading sort of content that you already have into, for example, the graph that you were saying, with ChatGPT.
So the graph would be to get as much data as possible about your user and their behavior, and then connecting behavior of different users together and your products, and the graph can be used to link a certain type of user to a certain type of product, what they might like. The content generation part is how you would run your experiments. Basically, it's you can have like 100 content pieces, all emphasizing a different feature of your product. It can be a functional benefit, it can be an emotional benefit, it can be different pricing strategies, it can be different landing page layouts, it can be all this kind of different techniques that now you can run so many more experiments. Before generative AI, it would be too work intensive to do so many experiments, but now you can do so many experiments, and you can just optimize your content creation strategy with the results of e-commerce, with the conversion rate, for example. Yeah.
Is there anything that links Shopify and like the analytic that you were talking about? Is there anything available to connect to Shopify so it has all the content?
I don't use Shopify, but I do know that they have, that they're implementing AI tools, right? So I can imagine, I think that they're doing it, or they're going to do it. I think Shopify is actually investing quite a lot in AI. So I would imagine, yes, but I'm not sure.
We'll just have to do research.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
will.
We've got some minutes.
Yeah, let's set up the live. So we're gonna go. We'll just tell our viewers. We are going to go live on Instagram with BeWork, which is an amazing co-working space here. And we've got some people who've already asked us some questions. We're live on BeWork with Stephen, who is the founder of the AI Founders Group. Sorry, not the founder, the chair of the AI Founders Group. Stephen is probably one of the most intelligent people I know on AI. So yeah, we wanted to open up the floor for questions today. Anything you want to ask us, guys, about AI? And we've got some questions coming in already.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So Benny at BeWork asked, "Will AI take software developers' jobs?"
Yeah. What do you think? So yeah, Benny at BeWork asked about software developer jobs. Is it going to take all of them, or what do you think?
I don't think so, because the world needs much more code and software, right? Just look around. There's a lot of businesses not digitalized yet. There's just a lot of opportunity for a lot more software to be implemented. I do think, obviously, developers will be augmented a lot. Already now, on GitHub, you can see like up to like between 40 and 50% of code is already generated by AI. I think that will be more and more. I also think that software developers, they tend to very easily adapt their workflow because they're used to learning new tools, learning new libraries, just constantly learning new things. So they're actually the first ones to incorporate AI into their workflow. So I think they will adapt fast, and I don't think there's like a limited demand for software. So I really don't think that they should be worried at all, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I think the whole theme of what we talk about is like, don't be worried about AI taking your jobs. Like, it's not going to. It's only going to sort of enhance the current capabilities. Yeah.
And Jonathan asks, "What is the single biggest opportunity in AI right now, not tomorrow?"
Yeah. So we'll just repeat that. So what's the biggest opportunity in AI, like right now, not tomorrow, right now?
I would say autonomous agents. Autonomous augmented multimodal agents, if you want to have the keywords for a search. So what it means is, so you take a large language model and you connect it to different tools, you connect it to different knowledge base, you can connect it, you ground it to the environment, and that's what makes it an agent. So there's a lot of agent frameworks out there that you can use. And basically what it means is you can automate your workflow. So how to do this in practice? You just make a process of what you would do on a day-to-day basis in your job, and then you mimic what you would do through an agent. You basically create an agent that can do as much as the job that you're currently doing, but without you in the loop. That's the end goal. That's also what I'm doing. Like I'm trying to look at my business, look at everything that I'm doing from marketing to HR recruitment to food ordering, and I'm trying to develop agents that can take over parts of my job, and then connecting these agents together and just automating as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that's really something you can do today. It's one of the biggest research trends right now, um, and it started. It started. I would say about 4 months ago with Auto GPT and these programs, but they've really enhanced a lot, and now they're also connecting different agents together in a network of agents. And then they're making it multimodal, which means that you can not only have text as input, but also have pictures, images, video input, speech input. So you can really have. I think that's what people should do today. Actually, it's such. You can really make your work so much more productive. Compared to, for example, having prompt templates and copy pasting them into ChatGPT, you can make your work, let's say, 2 times, 3 times more productive, right? But if you build an agent that does all that with one click of the button, and then you don't have one agent, but you add a 0, you have 10 agents, add 2 zeros, you have 100 agents, then I think that's where the biggest productivity gains will come from in the near future.
And I think that really speaks volumes to what I always say, which is like, don't look at AI and be like, wow, all this amazing stuff. Like, look at what problems you already have in your business, and then look at how AI can solve them. Like, look at it that way around, rather than thinking about all the opportunities. Like, make a list. Literally make a list. What's your 80-20? What's 20%? What is taking up the most amount of time but generating you the least amount of revenue? And then how can you like personalize all the existing AI technology to help you?
Rui asked, how can we manage kids with using AI so that they can still think for themselves? I think that's a really valuable question.
Yeah, so I think it's so 2 points I wanted to make. One is we can really help them in having personal education customized to their learning journey. It's I think that's in general one of the ways that AI should be used with children, and one of the ways that AI will be used for children, I think. It's really because a lot of children don't have access to private education, but there's a lot of studies out there that demonstrate the benefits of it. And secondly, it's about helping children get this sense of self-awareness, because I believe many children are on this journey of discovering themselves, discovering who they are, what they want to do, and AI actually has a high level of emotional intelligence, so it can really help children trying to figure this out, trying to understand what is their personality, what do they care about, how do they learn, how do they like. I think that's really something important. So the question is maybe coming from AI, for example, in social media, it's being used to influence children. I think in the future, AI is more about helping children understand who they are, and then creating a personalized AI specifically for them. So I think that's maybe the difference.
Yeah, and we had a guest on, Ella. She's an AI business consultant, and we actually started talking about this because she's a parent of a 2-year-old. So shout out to Ella if she's watching, and she was saying the same, that like it's a conundrum and it's a problem because AI can really help do some amazing things for parenting with all the use of big data, but at the same time, you don't want your kids to be addicted to and be dumb, not be able to read, right? So yeah.
So I've got Jacob asking, what can be done to link various AI tools in sequence to create custom AI solution?
So yeah.
You go. You know way more about this than I do, my man.
No, I think this is referring to prompt chaining, building AI chains. For example, LangChain is a really good framework for basically linking linking different prompts together in a sequence for coming to a solution. For example, if you write a marketing plan that's way too big for one prompt, so what you would do is first you have a brainstorming session. Based on the insights from the brainstorming session, second you go to a content outline, and then for each chapter in the content outline you generate that part of your marketing plan. So that could be a chain, and this chain you can automate. That's within a large language model. But you, of course, can also enhance this chain with integrating different types of AI models. For example, you can have a image generation model in the chain. You can have search tools like a search engine that does market research. You can also put it in a chain. Overall, the trend is to build this long chains, pipelines, it's called, of AI, and so the human in the loop doesn't have to be in the loop.
And there's a lot of no-code solutions to it as well. I think that's important to point out. So you don't have to be a coder to actually be able to do this. And there's tools like Zapier, which helps you connect different tools. And I think it's really just understanding the links for your use case. So, like, what do you want to achieve with your business? You know, I come back to what I said earlier, like what are the problems that you have with your business? Then how can AI solve it? And then look at like what AI needs to connect with which other AI, and how do you bring those together?
Exactly. I think every technical implementation in your business starts with business process mapping, right? It's just mapping out everything you do in your business, and then inside this map of activities, basically checking if AI can automate that part of the process.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, we got one more question.
Yeah.
Moraine asked, how will AI impact the medical industry, e.g. doctors?
So I'm not an expert, but I do think that the medical industry will be impacted most by AI. I mean, many people think this, because it is very data heavy, let's say. I mean, in this case, what data means, measuring everything in the body, like from heart rate to even like radiology or MRI scans, right? So there's so much data, important data that you can gather about a human that can be used for problem solving in this field. And that's what AI does, right? That's like AI makes predictions based on data. So I think that's why it's so useful for this field. Secondly, there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise in this field that not necessarily every doctor has top of mind, right? Like there's a lot of research being published. You cannot expect a doctor to be up to date all the time with everything.
5,000 papers a week on top of doing surgery, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, if a patient has a certain problem and it's being published somewhere, but the doctor is not aware, that's a problem, right? So this is where AI can really help to also do search and analyze different sources of text. And really broaden the knowledge base of every doctor. I think that's an important element. Finally, there's one more thing, is usually, to my knowledge, in this field, a lot of things are already documented in procedures, right? In standard operating procedures, I would say it's quite documented, and this is important for using generative large language models, generative AI, because this helps with avoiding hallucination. If you have a procedure for an LLM to follow in generating the answer, then you can use this to avoid.
So hallucination, just for anyone that doesn't know, is when it comes back with a totally made up answer. So you say, ChatGPT, who's the president of the United States? and it says, Michael Jordan is the president of the
Yeah.
United States, and is so sure about its answer. There's actually quite a lot of solutions, like you've just mentioned, about how to stop that. But we call it hallucination.
So you can record and see what they're hallucinating. So then, how would you know the difference between hallucination and?
So there's many ways. So for this example, what you would do is say like, if there's a certain problem with a patient, then an LLM needs to follow this procedure, which is already mapped beforehand, instead of just starting to do some random stuff, right? So you have like a.
Are you okay? You okay? Yeah. A little bit of a technical difficulty, yeah.
So you have like a database of procedures, and then you have your large language model select the right procedure for a certain problem, and then it doesn't do random things. And then, so that's in terms of the when it's generating the content. Then afterwards you can also do fact checking if it's actually not hallucinating, and this is when you would, for example, link it to a knowledge base and basically do a search of what it has generated, is if it's actually in a knowledge base, does it actually have like sources, and that's how also you could you can solve this.
Well, let's continue talking about
I know you wanted to get into the brain thing.
We did, and this is such a big topic that I was just like, do you know what? I'm not sure that we even have time to go down this rabbit hole. This needs a whole session, but let's try and summarize it a little bit in these 10 minutes. And it's great we've got our audience to be able to hear this as well. So you showed me a paper at the AI Founders meetup the other day, or you presented it. Do you want to talk a little bit about what this paper shows, because it will absolutely blow your mind.
Yeah. So there's a lot of research happening right now in basically understanding the brain. And what I mean with understanding is, so they have people that see a picture, and then they scan the brain with the MRI, and then based on the brain scan, they can actually generate the picture that the person is seeing. So they can really understand, based on a picture of your brain, what you are thinking about or what you are seeing. And they're doing it with images, but they're also doing it with text. So they're playing an audio file, and then they can look at your brain and see what you're actually hearing or what you're thinking about when you hear this text. It's also very accurate, right? It's really crazy. And also they do it with music, so you can you can now think about a song, and then they can actually like try to generate the song that you're thinking about. And it's just, I mean, obviously I'm not an expert in this field, but what I was surprised when I saw this is that apparently all our brains work in a similar way, right? So if they are able to understand one brain, they can apparently understand all of our brains this way, which was, I mean, I had to actually read a bit more on this to understand if that's really true, but it is true. We have different regions in our brain that we use for different types of processing, and we process data or visual cues or whatever in a similar way. So yeah, they're using MRI, and it's really crazy. It's like someone surfing, and you see the picture, and then based on a picture of your brain, they can generate the picture of someone surfing, but also like in the same position with like the same colors of waves, and like really accurate.
We will link this paper for sure, but yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy that you can basically take someone, put them in an MRI scan, and put a picture in front of them, and then you can use, is it Stable Diffusion you said, which is the model that reconstructs it, or that technology?
Yeah, this one was Stability AI, but together with Princeton and some other universities. But there's a lot of research on this. There's also many other, Google is also doing research. Like there's a lot of papers that get published actually on this topic. And it links back to AI can understand everything, meaning, I mean, they also use AI to understand like babies when they cry, what does it actually mean. They use AI to understand animals, so communication with animals. So it's
Oh, that's really cool.
I
yeah,
mean, this is crazy, right? It's
yeah,
like we can understand what an animal is actually thinking,
That
so
is crazy.
which
And then
is
they do
it's
a talking thing
yeah.
that links to the animal that you can actually hear what the animal is actually
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. So to Jens' point, can we do you know? Can you actually now communicate with animals? Is that
the
or how far away are
Wow,
we
that's
from this
exciting.
happening? Right? I mean, we can't be
no,
that far away.
we're
Yeah,
we're at the stage that companies that try to do this are getting a lot of funding,
yep,
but there's no like I mean there are some results.
yeah.
You know, Neuralink by
But
Elon Musk just got more than 200 million, and they have this famous, but it's already some time ago
yeah,
with a
the
pig.
monkeys, right? And then they put the chip in the brain, and now
Yeah,
they know what the
yeah.
monkeys kind of want. Yeah,
But yeah, there's a lot of funding on this kind of projects, um, and indeed, it's not. You don't need to implement a chip anymore. You can really do it on scans of the brain or decoding the sounds animals would produce. Yeah. So that's because everything is converted into numbers,
yeah.
and AI is used to translate numbers into text.
But I think the crazy thing is when you start to think about how that could work with current AI, right? So then when you start to link that and you think, okay, large language models, as you've just said, have this huge capacity for emotional reasoning and for psychology. What happens if you give the brain scan with everything that you're thinking, you know, if you do one every day, imagine we have we reduce the cost of an MRI scanner so you can have it in your house. You do an MRI scan every day and you give it to GPT-4 already, it could give you a massive psychological profile and tell you stuff about yourself that you would never in a million years know.
There was
Yeah,
maybe a bit off topic, but there was this small hope that there would be like a big breakthrough in MRI technology, LK99, which if it were true, but it's not confirmed yet, then MRI machines would be able to become like handheld machine. This off topic, but yeah, I was really thinking about how is the future going to look like if we have like more accessible MRI machines that are able to decode your brain. Yeah, that's quite.
It's really like the next step of wearables, right? So, I mean, I saw like a girl today wearing a Whoop, which is supposed to be really good at tracking like now apparently your stress levels as well, your stress levels, your glucose, all these things. So, like having an MRI scan of your brain just feels like the next step up from that in a way. So,
Yeah. It's there's a lot of research about, but it's a bit futuristic
yeah,
research. But how can we communicate more optimal with AI in the
yeah.
future? And then it's like brain to AI. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
it's fascinating.
it's one thing to sort of check and see what you're thinking about, but there's another to mind control.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? I think we'll do another.
Yeah,
It's 5:30.
yeah,
But like give it another
yeah,
30
yeah,
minutes
yeah,
late.
yeah.
That is currently not possible with scanning, right? For this, you would need an actual chip implemented, but that's what, for example, Neuralink and these companies are doing, and they're also successful, right? They're I think 2 weeks ago now, they've connected someone's brains again with parts of the body that were not working anymore, and like now it's working again. So they're
Yeah.
they're able to do this with chip implants. But the opposite way is not possible with MRI technology. No.
Yeah.
How long did that take for it to activate the body parts again?
I don't know.
We'll
yeah.
have to search into it.
Yeah, I saw the news article and I knew that Neuralink was also promising, or not promising, but expecting to deliver this year. But apparently another research did it first, I guess.
Yeah.
But Neuralink is also working on the same technology, and they just got a huge funding. So yeah.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it's wild. I think science and AI is one of the most kind of underrated fields. And if you are a scientist or you have a medical background, I think you could be both very, very wealthy and very intellectually stimulated. I think if you went into that path, because as you pointed out earlier, like doctors and even really specialized surgeons and doctors don't have the time to read all this new research about what's coming out. So being the person that does, that is on top of this, could be really revolutionary.
Yeah, and also for like
Yeah.
cross domain sharing of knowledge, right? Like one expert is not cannot know everything about all the domains, but there can be knowledge in certain domains. It can be applicable to generate new knowledge, to make new associations. For example, neuroscience and some totally different fields of biology can be connected in some ways to make new discoveries, right? So AI can definitely help with this.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Stephen, and thank you so much, Jan, for helping us. Do you want to plug your Instagram? What's your Instagram for everybody that's watching recorded? Yeah, Jan Jaffe. So, is that it? At Jan Jaffe. Yep.
At Yen Jappy, and you got B work as well.
And at B Work as well. Yeah, amazing B Work for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, of course, there's our channel at The Robots Are Coming. So make sure you follow that if you want to see the entire interview with Stephen and you want to see what's coming up on that. We have some really interesting guests coming on that. But yeah, thanks for joining, and thanks
you.
everyone for joining, whether you're live or whether you're watching this recorded. It's been it's been amazing. Yeah.